Hey everyone, Ryan Casper Cook here, coming to you from X around the world. Giving you a quick preview and a little bit of tips and tricks on our 2020 sequences that we have available to you all, and just some general helpful information on mapping to your own house, so that way you can get the best results possible out of these sequences. So if you haven't already, the first thing you're going to want to do is go to our xlightsaroundtheworld.com website. You're going to want to click on the 2020 project, and on this page is where you will find all the information on this year's 2 available sequences. So feel free to use both of these sequences in your own show. However, there's only going to be one song you can submit as part of the project, so you'll have to decide which song you want to submit to. Also on the website, you'll find other helpful information as far as video submission deadlines. As soon as we open up video submissions, you'll be able to click this big red button here to submit your video. In the meantime, to just get the sequences downloaded, you'll go to the bottom of the page. You'll see resources, and you'll see Google Drive links to both Christmas Every Day and Into the Unknown. You'll also see Amazon links for those that can purchase through Amazon for those songs. You will need to purchase that song, and if you don't have access to Amazon in your country, you'll want to find an alternate source for these specific songs. So I've already gone ahead and downloaded all the files, and I've already purchased the music. In my main show folder, I have my music folder, and I've got my Christmas Every Day and Into the Unknown. Also on my desktop here, I have the Into the Unknown sequence, Christmas Every Day sequence. I've unzipped those, and the next thing I want to do is go ahead and drag those into my show folder. So I'm just going to put those in there, so that way once I map everything, all the video files and image files, they'll all map over properly to my own home. So now that I have both sequences, the music, everything's in my show folder, first thing I want to do is just kind of open up one of these around the world sequences just to kind of show you how we have everything put together. So I'm going to go ahead and launch Xlights here. I already have it going. I already have it linked to my show folder, but I'm going to go ahead and change that. Let's look at Christmas Every Day. So I'm going to go ahead and open up that sequence. Alright, so this is the Christmas Every Day sequence, and the first couple things I want you to note that are important is you want 2 specific groups, an entire display and the entire house face. The only difference between the two, and I'll show you on the layout tab here, is your entire display is going to be everything in your display minus if you have a P10 or you want to display the music video or the coordinated video, you'll exclude that. And you'd also exclude any singing face elements that you might have. On the entire house face, think of this as your house being like a TV screen, and you want everything that's on your house but not in the yard. So those 2 groups are very important in the around the world sequences. And you want to make sure that your entire display group is at the top of your sequence and that your entire house face is directly under that. Everything else on our sequences are purposely sequenced at a group level. So we have outlines, arches, snowflakes, candy canes, etc. You should mimic this same kind of setup on your layout to make sure you can map everything over fairly easy. And it doesn't matter, everyone's going to have different elements. Some people have spinners, some people have, this type of candy cane versus this type, or I have this snowflake, or HD props. All these effects are interchangeable, so you can copy these onto any groups that you have that are different than our groups. So once again, just make sure you have your entire display group and your entire house face group, and that they're both at the top as you see in this example. The other thing you want to make sure of is that on both your entire house and your entire display, that you have your center point marked properly, because a lot of our effects are based on a center point. So if you don't have this red little plus sign here, you're going to want to change your X and Y offsets to make sure that's directly in the center of your house where you want it to be, so the effects render properly. So that's just kind of a quick overview. Into the Unknown is the same way. We've got the same similar setup, and we have the entire display and the entire house face right at the top. So they're both laid out this way, so that way once you create your mapping file, you can save that mapping file, and the next sequence and future year's sequence will import in a breeze. The next thing I want to show you guys is how I would envision mapping this onto my own personal house. So I'm going to go ahead and change this back over to my Trista Lights show folder. And I do not need to save changes on that. Okay, so this is my personal house. You'll see I have a bunch of different elements that are obviously not on the Around the World template. I've got some gift boxes, I've got some what I call fire sticks, I've got some spinners on poles. You know, I've got quite a bit of different stuff going on here. This tree right here, you'll see that's actually my inside tree inside my house, so I'm going to map that while I'm at it, so it coordinates with the music. But this is my layout, and I've already got my house pretty much set up the same way already. I've got my whole house. I've got my whole house without the yard. I call mine something a little different, but it's the same concept. My outlines and arches and so on and so forth. So the first thing I want to do, now that I've got all of my models and groups grouped together how I want them, I want to go over to the sequencer tab, and I'm going to want to create a new sequence. I'm going to create a musical sequence and go back to my show folder. I'm looking for the music file, and I think I'll do Christmas Every Day first. So I'm going to go ahead and select that MP3, open that up. Now we've designed all of this in 20 frames per second just to keep the sizes down as much as possible. So I'm going to choose 20 frames per second. Now in this case I don't have a viewpoint set on this show folder, so I'm just going to do empty, and I'm going to go ahead and click done. Alright, so I got the music loaded. I'm going to go ahead and save this, and I'll just save this as Christmas Every Day. Now since I don't have my models and groups loaded by a view, I'm going to right click and I'm going to edit display elements. Get those buggers added in here. Now in this case, you should be familiar with your own show like I am with mine. I'm going to go ahead and just copy all my groups over because I know I have everything already grouped. And I've got some Halloween stuff in here, so I'm just going to remove that real quick. Alright, so I think I have everything removed from Halloween, so I just have my Christmas show in here. I've got my whole house no yard outlines. Just running down, making sure I have everything included. And it looks like we're good. So I can go ahead and get out of here, and I've got all my groups and models ready to roll. I'm going to save one more time before I import the sequence. Now to import one of the sequences, we're going to go to Import, Import Effects. I'm working on Christmas Every Day, so I'm going to select that folder, and I'm going to select the Around the World Christmas Every Day sequence. Now it's going to bring up mapping. So the first thing under timing tracks, they should be selected by default. Make sure all those timing tracks are selected. We do have a lot of effects that go off the beats or bars timelines. Also, you'll want the main vocals if you have any singing faces. Now in my house, I personally don't have any singing faces, but I might add like a singing bulb to my mega tree, so I guess I might as well just leave that in there. So first I'm just going to take a quick look here. We have arches, snowflake, candy canes, entire display, entire house, floodlights, a couple different matrices, the mega tree with the singing faces on it, mini trees, outlines, you got your P10, we got singing faces, matrix, more snowflakes, spinners, stars. Okay, so if I start with my first groups here, I'm just going to kind of go one by one and map what I think is best. We've got obviously the first two that are most important, your whole house / entire display, and your whole house without the yard, or your entire house face. Doesn't look like we don't have anything yard only in the around the world sequences, so I'm going to skip that. I've got my outlines. I have my matrix panels grouped a little differently. I do know that the P10, I kind of want that video on my garage matrix because that kind of shows video the best for density on my house. So I think I'm going to just specifically put that. I believe I have that 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that's matrix 5. So I'm going to put the P10 on matrix 5. And then I think what I'll do is drop, I think matrix 1 and matrix 2 pretty much do the same thing on the template, so I think I'm going to just drop that on all my matrix. Same thing, I'll use matrix 2 for my poles maybe. I've got my arches. I'm going to drop that directly onto both the left and the right section. I could probably use that same sequencing for my fire sticks in the yard. I've also got some trees in my front yard that I have with pixels on them. I might just do, you know what the heck, I'll just choose one of the mega trees for those trees. I've got my spinner for my spinners. My spinners, I call them lollipop spinners. I've got little pixels coming down that look like lollipops. So I think for those poles, I'm going to go ahead and use probably, you know, I'll use the arches again on that one. I think that'll work good. Or actually, let's try candy canes. Let's try that on the spinner poles. I got floodlights. I can use the floodlights. I've got C9 outlines as well, so I'm going to use the outlines group for that. And I've got my mega tree, so I'll go ahead and do the mega tree. I've got my stars. I'll throw a star on there. I've got my snowflakes. I can use candy canes again. I've got my mini trees. I've got a gift tag that hangs on my front door. What could I use for that? Pretty much using everything up here. I'm going to throw the star on that. I've got a tune to sign. I'm going to manually add some text to that later. I've got some gift boxes like I was mentioning, so I like to use the floodlights programming for gift boxes. Fog machines, I meant to take that out. I do not have fog machines for Christmas. That's fine. So we've got gift boxes, fog machines, bracelets. I'll deal with bracelets later. Another good rule of thumb, if you are running DMX bracelets, the floodlights programming works just fine for that. And then I've got my inside tree. So again, I can pull the mega tree into that. So I think I'm okay. I think I'm happy with this. The beautiful thing about this is if you don't like it, well, first off, we're going to save it. I'll just save this as my mapping file here under my show folder. So my mapping file is at least saved now. So if I don't like this, I could easily just start all over, load that mapping file, or heck, let's just, yeah. So let's say I don't like this. Yeah, I didn't like how that turned out. So let's just open that save file back up. We've already got our groups in there. And if it helps, you could just create like a separate, just a temporary file that just has these groupings set up, so you don't have to redo that if you don't have your views set up like I don't. So that's one way just to quickly open up and start over if you'd like. But we're just going to import effects again, and I'm going to go back to Christmas Every Day. And then I'm just going to simply load that mapping file I just saved. And let's say I didn't like the way this matrix looked on the poles. I could put in a different effect on that instead. Save it, see how it looks. You can just keep tweaking it until you like it, or you can copy and paste effects once you've actually mapped everything in the actual sequencer here. In this case, I'm gonna put that back. I'm gonna cancel that. Do that again real quick. Import XLite Around the World Christmas Every Day. I'm gonna load my mapping file. This is the same thing I saved earlier, so I'm gonna click OK. You'll see it already pre-filled basically everything in for me that I'm looking for here. I don't know how it's going to look yet till I render it, but I'm thinking everything looks pretty darn full here. Looks like everything has something on it. And again, I have my whole house and my whole house without the yard, or my entire house or entire house face right at the topmost levels there. So let's go ahead and save this and see how it renders. Okay, everything is saved and rendered here now. I can't wait, I'm excited. Let's see how this looks. Actually, I honestly haven't even seen this on my own house yet, so I'm really pumped about this. Oh, sweet.
I wish it was Christmas, Christmas every day. We could just let it snow forever and live on holiday. I wish it was Christmas every day. School is out, no work today, so in my PJs I will stay.
Alright, so I'm super pumped about this. That mapped over really nice, and I'm actually really happy with how it all looks and how it came out. There's probably a few things I might tweak here or there, and that'd just be going into the sequence itself and copying some effects onto other things and just making sure it looks as good as it could. But I'd be happy just leaving this as is on my own house, and if I run out of time I likely will, so that looks great. So now that we actually have that mapping file, mapping the other song is going to be a breeze. So I'm going to go ahead and close this one down. And I already went ahead and created the Into the Unknown, just the song and my groups. So now what we can do is we can import Into the Unknown using that existing mapping file we just saved. So I'm going to go ahead and import effects. I'm going to go to Into the Unknown. I'm going to select Into the XLite Around the World, Into the Unknown. And I'm going to go ahead and load my mapping file that I created earlier. And you'll see everything pre-fills exactly the same. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And bam, everything just fills in. So I'm going to go ahead and save it and see what it looks like. Alright, so we have Into the Unknown all saved and rendered. Now just a little forewarning, Into the Unknown uses a lot of video. The video effects that we're using are quite large file sizes, so it does take a little longer to render the first time. It should get a little quicker future saves and renders, but the first time you render it, just be patient with it. It's not getting hung up, it will save. That one took me, was a little over 2 minutes to render, so it is all saved and rendered, so I just kind of want to take a look now. I'm excited.
Into the unknown.
Beautiful.
Into the unknown. Into the unknown.
Very, very cool. Skip to the end here. I'm not going to play the whole song for the sake of time, but I am extremely happy with how this turned out as well. So cool. Okay, so So it's really that easy once you create a mapping file. And when you create your mapping file, make sure you save it for future year's use. Now, those of you that have your previous XLite Around the World mapping file saved already, you should just be able to open that up and load that mapping file and click, 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 you're done. So it's really, really quick and easy once you have that mapping file. So hopefully this was helpful for you. Another just tip, just so you know, we are working on version 2020.34 and above. So please make sure you have the correct XLights version. Into the Unknown is going to be a little larger file size to download from the Google Drive. The Christmas Every Day is a much smaller file size, as we stuck with images in that one versus video. So we've kind of got two great sequences out there for you to use in your show this year. And remember, you can only submit one for the project, but you are more than welcome to use them both in your shows. So again, hope this was helpful for you, and we can't wait to see this year's final outcome for XLights Around the World. Thanks so much, everyone.